Okay guys, this is part 2 of slope fields. Basically this time we're going to give you the visual of the slope field and you need to identify what the slope field is, what the differential equation is that represents that. It's pretty simple. There's a couple quick tips we can go through to help you make things easier, especially on multiple choice sections of AP tests or things of that nature. But yeah, that's what we're going to be doing today. So these are the main tips you want to keep in mind. These are probably the easiest ones to use. Basically, the first asterisk right here, I say that if you look at a vertical line, so for instance, all of the x equals 1s, x equals 2, x equals 3, like a line of those, if they're all the same, what that means is you go up the list, the y is not changing, therefore there must not be a y in the equation. So you're looking at some kind of slope equation that only uses the letter x in it. Very similarly, if you look at a horizontal line, which is what I've circled on this picture right here, you look at that horizontal line of slopes, everything is exactly the same in every single line. It has to be throughout the whole picture, not just for one line. So you look at 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 different horizontal lines. They're all exactly the same as you go left to right. That means, as I say, so here's the xy axis. X is 0, x is 1, x is 2, x is 3. All of these slopes are staying the same. What that tells you is that the x value means nothing, so there must not be an x value in the equation. So those are really good tips to use just to get you to narrow things down. And from there, we're just going to do some examples real quick. So here's the kind of problem you could see on an AP test or something like that, a multiple choice problem where I give you 4 different graphs. Well, usually you'll get one graph and it'll ask you to match the equation to its slope field. But I'm giving you 4 just for fun. So if you want to try this yourself, just pause this video right now because I'm about to go over how you get all these answers. The next slide does have all the answers, by the way. So if I'm looking at this and I look at, for instance, letter A, I look at every horizontal line, and it's very easy to tell that every horizontal line is the exact same slope. They're different slopes altogether, but as you go across left to right, you get the same slope for each row. So what that means is as I go left to right, as my x's change, all right, so x is 1, x is 2, x is 3, x is 4, x is 5, these stay the same. So that tells me that x probably is not part of my equation. So when I look at these equations, sine of x, x minus y, 2 minus y, and x, they all have the letter x in them except for number 9. So just by multiple choice alone, I'm going to conclude that my answer is 2 minus, that's a minus, 2 minus y. So number 9, I would say, or part A, I would say goes with number 9. So that's what I'm talking about. Now, if you look at letter B, vertically, it looks like they're all the same. You just got to go all the way and make sure. Yeah, so as I go every line down here, it's slowly changing. It's hard to tell, but it is changing. But every line vertically has the exact same slopes. Even right here, we have all slopes of 0. So everywhere across this is, that means the y values as we go higher to lower, at y is 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, we're getting the same slope. So it tells me there's probably not a y value affecting this. So when I go down here, I look at number 7 and number 10, both have no y. So it's probably one of those. If you want to get further into that, you just pick one and just pick some random points. Like if I look at, I wouldn't want to pick 0, 0 because, yeah, sorry, I'm talking to myself here. But I'm going to pick 1, 1 right there. So I'm going to pick that one. 1, 1, put it in for x. The slope when you put x as 1 is you get 1. Over here, if you put in a 1 for x, you're getting the sine of 1, which is definitely not 1. And that looks like a slope of 1 to me, so I'm going to say that this one is probably letter B. Which is pretty useful because now I'm going to be able to say this is the other equation that only has an x in it. So if this only has an x, then that means my original, my graph, it should have, just like this graph, all the vertical slopes being identical, and that's going to it's not going to happen here. It's going to happen in this one. All the vertical slopes are identical, telling me there's probably not a y. I'm going to say that's letter C. And if you want to test, you could just put in some points and see what happens. And then number 8, obviously this is pretty easy because this is the only graph on the whole page where if you look row by row, slopes are changing. Look column by column, slopes change as you go down. So this changes horizontally and vertically, meaning there's probably an x and a y in here. So we would say that this is letter D. So that's a great shortcut for, so I have CDAB, and if I go to my next slide, I get CDAB, exactly what I thought. So it's a really good shortcut for multiple choice questions. Here's another set. Again, I'm going to go over these in a second. These are a little more challenging. Sorry about that. These are a little bit more challenging, but you know, if you want to try it real quick on your own, you can. I'm about to go over them in a second. But we always want to look for that shortcut to help ourselves out. So I'll start by doing number 11 here. Number 11 is only an x. So that is the only one of these 4s with 4 problems with only x in there. So what that means to me is that the y values will not change the slopes. So as I move up and down vertically, if I have a graph where each column the slope remains the same, it must be number 11. So yes, 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 yes. You see the idea here? All these slopes are the same. Number 11 must be graph B. And yes, this is not a great method, but it does help you in multiple choice situations. So I'm just trying to get you any kind of ideas that you can use to help you move through these tests fast. Number 12 is a y only, and 13 and 14 do not have y only. So all we have to do now is look for somewhere where the moving left to right does not change it. So anywhere where there are rows that are exactly the same. No, that changes. C, looking good, looking good. Yeah, as you go through C, all the rows are identically the same. So C must not rely on X, because as you move left and right, the X's don't change anything. So C must go with number 12. So really that made our work a lot easier. Now 13 and 14 we might have to think about a little bit. 13 negative X over Y. Let's see, let's start off here. If I put in a 0, 0 into this equation, 0, so I put a 0 in for X and a 0 in for Y. I cannot divide by 0, so that's undefined. So what that means, if it's undefined, is that we have an undefined slope, meaning it's called a vertical tangent. So we have a slope that doesn't exist. Now, I like to, when I draw mine, I like to draw a vertical tangent in like that. But some people don't. It's hard to tell, especially on the XY axis. Really hard to tell if it's there or if it's a horizontal tangent. It's really hard to tell when it's like this. If you look over here on this graph, there is a horizontal tangent right there at 0. You can't really tell since it's sharing an axis, so that might not have been the best choice to use. So I'm going to play it safe. I'm going to try 1, negative 1. I know that should come out to 0 if I do this right. And by the way, this, I shouldn't have marked that, but I'll erase it real quick because we don't know for sure. So let's knock it out. Okay, like it never happened. Because it might be that, it might not be, but you just can't tell. So we're going to try this one now. All right, so if I try this point 1, negative 1, and I put it in here, it's negative 1 over negative 1. It's going to be a positive 1. So at 1, negative 1, I would have a slope of 1. And right here, the slope is 0. So 13 must not go with A. Therefore, D must be letter 13. And I'll just go through this, checking that out in a second. So I'm thinking 14 is probably A, but let's check anyway. So if I go back to 1, negative 1, this point right here, and I put a 1 in for X and a negative 1 in for Y, 1 plus negative 1 gives me my 0. which is that horizontal tangent. If I put it on this graph, here's 1, -1. That is clearly not a slope of 0. So I know that letter A goes with 14. And I can check letter D with 13 the same way. I can just put in some random points, see what the slopes come out to be, and I will know my answer. And we just talked about if I put in 1, -1 here, I get a slope of 1. This is definitely a slope of 1, so therefore they match up. And I'll click and show you the answers, and amazingly they will be the same, B, C, D, A. So those are really quick shortcuts. And if those don't work, your best bet is to plug in some points and kind of see which one models the slopes the closest. So there's some answers of the worksheet, you don't care. So I'm going to end that section right now. The next thing we'll be doing is using a slope field or its differential equation. We're going to estimate values given an initial condition. So I'll tell you, because we're going to be finding C values and things like that, but we're going to use slope fields to do these things. So we'll talk about that next. All right, if you have any questions, just please contact me and let me know. Good luck to you.